Hey there, it's Chris with Acting Creative, and this is an experiment. This is not a handwoven experience episode, my friend. No. You see, as I'm recording this, it is August of 2026, and I have been making handwoven experience episodes for 6.5 years at this point. And I love doing them, and there is no stopping us. We have many more ideas for things to bring to the table for a handwoven experience. However, I have been itching to maybe try something a little different. So, you and I, right now, we're going to do a little experiment. Here's what I'm thinking. We're just going to call it Weaving Stories. And in this format, it'll be very conversational. It's just me talking to you. It's not educational, although you may pick up some tidbits here and there, but the idea is really to entertain and to make you think and tug on a heartstring, just make you smile. So in this little experiment of ours, I am going to show you a piece of fabric and tell you my story, but then I'll also follow it up with one of your stories. So, are you ready? I say we give it a try. Here we go. Okay, here is my story for the day. So first of all, let me show you some fabric. This is some fabric that I made while I was doing art fairs and markets all over the country. Now, I show you this not to hone in on this specific piece of fabric, just that this is a sample of what I did for many years. So let me set the scene. As I was doing art fairs and markets, I always brought a table loom with me, and I have a 15-inch 4-shaft shacked table loom. They don't make them anymore, but I love it. It is nice and sturdy. It has been beat up over the many years that I had it outside in all the elements, and it's a real trooper. So I would need to have my loom set up with some kind of warp for each event. And what I found was that it was helpful for me to put on enough warp and in the width that I could then sew into wallets. Wallets were one of the key things that I always sold at these events. So what I found was that if I made my warp 7 inches at the reed, ultimately that would give me the width of what I would need for these wallets. So I would put on just however many yards I thought. I typically figured that I could do about a yard in 2 hours if I wasn't crazy busy. So that's about how I estimated the length of my warps for a show. Now, here's what was fun about this is that I was doing shows at least twice a month. It was a lot. And at a certain point, you just get tired of picking colors. Oh my gosh, did I just say that? But I thought, wouldn't this be fun to bring in the public then to help with the colors? Now, I always like to have it relating to a holiday, a season. There was some kind of connection, some kind of inspiration. So what I would do is on my Facebook page, I would put together 2 options for the colors and I would let people vote. And whatever one they chose, that would be the set of colors for that particular project at that particular event. So it was always so fun then to see what they came up with. By the way, I always guessed wrong. Whichever A or B I thought they were going to choose, they always chose the other one, which of course became immensely humorous after doing it for many years. And you would think I would be able to predict, but no, they always voted for something else. So part of what I would do is, because I am then always putting on a warp that is 7 inches in the reed, I would go through and actually make one color per inch. So if you look at so many of these little tiny rolls of fabric I have, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like they always have this kind of striping pattern. And if you've ever met me before, you know that I absolutely love to have multiple colors in the warp. So this is one of the ways, one of the formulas that I used when I was putting a project into the loom to then weave at an event. Now, like I said, I would take this off the loom and then sew it into wallets. So I don't know if you'll see, but I didn't tuck in any of my ends because I didn't want that extra bulk as it was being sewn into wallets. And let me please clarify, I am not sewing this. This is not my strong suit ever and or ever. So I would take the fabric off and I would hand it to my seamstress, and she would make magic with it and turn it into a whole series of wallets. Now, what else is fun about this is that I would switch colors whenever I felt like it. I didn't put any pressure on myself to weave exactly a certain amount. I would change the pattern whenever I wanted to. See right here, I got a little funny, cute little glitch in what I was doing before. There was zero pressure on myself to make this consistent throughout the entire thing. Because when I handed it over to my seamstress then, I would say, okay, measure, I think it was like 14 inches, measure 14 inches and that's one wallet, measure another 14 inches and that's another wallet. No matter how the colors fell, it was just kind of a random crapshoot of where the colors fell when it came to the creation of the wallet. Now, I would always, whichever colors I used for the warp, I would always repeat those in the weft. But then I would also come through and throw in some other kind of other colors I thought would be fun or just to play with. Or sometimes between you and me, honestly, it would be, do I have a bobbin with leftover yarn on it? And I would just throw it in to see what would happen. Now, the impact and the importance of these projects is that, first of all, ultimately, I'm just playing. The whole time I'm sitting at an art fair for typically 2 days straight, I am at the loom, I'm weaving, I'm playing. It's stress-free. I'm stressed about selling things at the event, of course, but the weaving part is fun and there's just no pressure. And over the time of doing it for so many years then, it really helped me hone my skills as to predicting colors and how they work together. So these little projects are just a little bit of magic and so much fun. There aren't that many of them left, I have to say, because it's been many years since I stepped off of the art fair and market bandwagon. But whenever I see them on my shelf, I always smile because this was such a significant style of project that I did for so long and had so much fun with it. And ultimately, my goal was to share with others what does it look like to be weaving. And that was accomplished. The fact that at the end of the day, I had fabric for more wallets, for more inventory for the next show, that was just gravy. So anyways, that is my story for you today, all about these narrow little rolls of fabric that you'll see tucked into my shelves, because this is a little sweet reminder of where I've been and how they helped me get to where I am. So next up, let's hear a story from one of you. So I put out a call to my AC insiders to send me their stories about how they got their loom. I find that people don't usually just have a loom. There's usually a great story that comes with it. So today I'm going to share with you a story from Liz, who is starting us off strong. Here is Liz's story about how she got her loom. The year was 1987. Her late husband Dale and herself had recently purchased an old fixer-upper house in Milwaukee's River West neighborhood. The house was from 1883. That is old. It's very near to the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, where he worked as an HVAC, heating, ventilating, air conditioning mechanic. One of his buildings was the craft center, where the graduate students from the fine art department taught classes to the public. And one of the teachers, Peggy, was also our next door neighbor. She told us that she was going to be teaching weaving and encouraged me to take the class, knowing that I sewed and had a love of fabric. Our budget was tight, as I was a stay-at-home mom, but Dale paid the fee before I could object. So off I went, notebook in hand. Before the first session ended, I was head over heels in love with weaving. It was hard to wait a whole week for the next session when they were going to get their hands on a 16-inch table loom. But I was a busy remodeler, clearing out the living room and pulling up carpet to refinish the hardwood floor. Finally, the second class came around and I loved it even more. I came home ready to tell the family all about warping boards, reeds, and heddles. I walked in the house, and there in the middle of the empty living room was a 36-inch, 4-shaft floor loom. I was speechless. One of Peggy's fellow students was needing to sell his floor loom as he had taken up tapestry for his area of study. Peggy very wisely told Dale it would be a great starter loom. It was old and needed some love, but it was usable and very sturdy, having been made in nearby Waukesha, Wisconsin at Kesnick Looms. The price was $250. This was the exact amount Dale had just gotten as a bonus for re-enlisting with his National Guard unit. He used that to buy the loom on the QT. He picked it up while I was at class and had it waiting at home to surprise me. I wove in that loom for the next 14 years. Oh, that just gave me all the chills. I love those kind of stories, and I think they're so special. So a special thanks to Liz for sharing her story about how she got her first loom. I love that. Now, my friend, you have a little homework here. First of all, tell me if you enjoyed this, if you would like to see more of weaving stories. It's all just an experiment, and I'm always encouraging you to play. So I thought I'd take my own advice, and we would play with a little different format just to add to the richness of our lineup at Acting Creative. So that's the first thing. Let me know if you enjoyed this. Secondly, do you have a story you'd like to share? Specifically, do you have a story about how you acquired your loom? There's no real parameters beyond that, friends. If you do, and you'd like to share, please email me, chris@actingcreative.net, and hopefully we'll get to share it on an upcoming episode of Weaving Stories. Have a good one, friend. Happy weaving.